Hello again everyone, welcome back to my channel and welcome to another speed build video in The Sims 4. I hope you're all having the most amazing day ever so far and thank you so much for joining me here today. First and foremost, happy Halloween. I hope you are having and or have had the spookiest day possible. This is possibly one of my favourite days of the entire year. I love Halloween. If you haven't noticed, I've done quite a few autumnal / Halloween / spooky builds on the channel this year. I don't know, I've just been feeling super inspired clearly. But in today's video, I wanted to share an idea that came to me when I was just relaxing, laying in bed, you know, as you do. And I was like, oh my goodness, I could build 2 houses on one lot and these families, these neighbours could be in competition with one another to see who can put on the best Halloween display. I don't know why I've never thought about this before, but trust me when I say this, I will be doing exactly the same concept. I'll be doing exactly the same concept, when it comes to Christmas, because can you imagine this, but with Christmas stuff? Oh, just yes. Love this idea. I love the idea that the families are just every single year this happens, they're in competition with one another to see who can out Halloween. It's just brilliant. So I'm really excited to be able to share this build with you all. So we are working in Willow Creek on a 30 by 20 lot, by the way. I was quite impressed that I was able to actually fit 2 houses on this teeny tiny lot, but I really like this lot. It's kind of tucked away in the corner. It's super cozy. It's got that really neighborhood, just autumnal vibe, especially when you set the season to autumn, which is exactly what I did when I was building here, because I find that when I'm building in autumn, the ideas just start flowing to me. The ideas just start flowing. And this was no exception. I wasn't really working from reference images as such. I was just trying to create two houses that I wanted the houses to be different, but I also wanted the houses to look like you would see them next to one another out in the real world, if that makes sense. I think I achieved that with this. These are very typically sort of American suburban is how I would categorize these houses. And yeah, I'm really pleased with the concept. I'm pleased with the execution. I had a blast building this yesterday. I had this idea yesterday morning, so on Halloween Eve. And I was like, I do not have a build ready to go for Halloween, which is unusual for me. I would typically be a little bit more organized, but I just haven't been this year. I've been super into playing Pokemon ZA. If you follow me on Instagram and or X, you may have already seen that I've sunk a fair few hours into this game already. I feel like everything has just revolved around me playing Pokemon. But I was like, oh, I've got to get a Halloween up. Got to get a Halloween up. What am I talking about? I've got to get a Halloween build up this year because it is my favorite day of the year. I can't remember if I put something up on actually Halloween last year. I know I did a few spooky builds, etc., because I do it every year on the channel. Just the same with my festive and Christmas builds. I like to make a bit of a thing of it, because I adore these times of year, and so I'm like, well, why not share it in The Sims as well, because it's just a super cozy time. But don't really know where I was going with that. See, this is what happens when I feel like I haven't done a voiceover for a little while. I'm trying to think back to when my last speed build was, because my last video was like a real-time building video. So I didn't actually have to sit down and film the build and then film the voiceover. I just did everything all at once. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I digress. So the houses are already built. We're now working on the landscaping. I wanted the landscaping to be different for each of the houses, but also look like you would see the landscaping next to each other again out in the real world. And I must say, I think I went a little bit nuts with the landscaping looking back. I think I should have definitely toned this down a little bit. I don't think it looks bad necessarily, but I was looking back on the screenshots last night because I edited all my screenshots. I got all the footage ready to go so that I could just come back after my day out today and just record the voiceover. I was trying to save myself a little bit of time, and I was laying in bed last night looking at these screenshots, and I was like, wow, I really went to town on this landscaping. I don't know why. Sometimes this happens with builds of mine where I'll just go off on a complete tangent with the landscaping, and then I look back and I go, whoa, you should have toned that down just a little bit there, Rach. But I think it sort of works. I think these families, oh dear, they're funny. I was trying to think of each family dynamic and also the relationship that they would have with one another while I was building these houses, because the houses are also fully furnished. We will be talking a little bit more about the families and the dynamic and who I imagined would be living here when we move on to the interiors of these houses. But it was really fun for me to just sit down and create this concept of these sort of rivalry neighbors who, when it comes to specific times of year, just like gloves are off. It's like, let's go. I'm going to beat you. I'm going to beat you. And it's such a fun concept. So I would love to see if any of you have any ideas of which families you might want to move in here. Maybe you already have families who have that sort of healthy competition with one another. I've been socializing today, so I feel like my brain capacity has depreciated just a little bit. But yeah, these families are just in this feud with one another, and just love the concept. And I really liked the thought of doing something like this, because it's not like something I've ever done on the channel before. I don't believe. It feels like it's quite a unique concept. It feels like it's a concept that I should have thought about before now, but unfortunately just haven't. So yeah, I'm thrilled with how this whole thing came out. And you'll just see me here. I do mess around with the tool mod a little bit with this build. I can't remember because basically what I've done is I've put some, obviously when we get to the spooky decorations, which I think is coming up in just a few moments, because obviously what I wanted to do is I wanted to get like the core houses down and then I Halloweenified them. You know, I didn't want to build the house around the Halloween decorations. I wanted to build the houses and then add the Halloween decorations. I just think that made the most sense, at least in my head. So when I was adding all these Halloween decorations, I did add some of these huge spiders. I say they're huge spiders, they're not. I sized them up. I think they're from the Spooky Stuff pack, and they're decorative items that I don't usually gravitate towards, but I think with this, because of the concept of the entire video and the concept of the builds, I was like, okay, well, this is a good opportunity for me to actually use these spiders a little bit. And I used Tool to rotate the spiders, so each house has a spider on it, because I feel like that probably the family on the left purchased theirs, and then the family on the right were like, okay, well, we're going to go and purchase one as well, but we're going to put it somewhere different, you know? So I think for me, the Halloween decorations are pretty much neck and neck. You won't find one is lighter on the decorations as opposed to the other one. They're both quite heavily Halloween decorated. So for me, it's a tie. It is a tie, because I didn't want it to turn into something like where your Sims would be getting into argument. like it would even happen. I'm talking about it like it would even happen. But you know what I mean? Like, they're in competition with one another, but they spur each other on as well. Like they want to make each other better. So I feel like the house on the left started the trend with the spider, and then the house on the right was like, well, we'll go out and get a spider as well, but just a different color. And yeah, so here we are, the spider's going on, and I do use Tool to rotate it. You can see here, I'm getting a little bit more adventurous with Tool. I'm quite proud of myself, and I really liked how that looked. I'm not entirely sure how that would work in real life, you know, like how would you actually get that spider up there, let alone how would you get it to stick to the front of a house. I'm not here to worry about that. I'm just here to make the houses look Halloweeny, okay? So I didn't have to concern myself with that too much. But then we start adding pumpkins, of course. There's ghosts outside, there's tombstones, there's like these little cauldrons, and there's lights, and there's just like everything going on. And it's just like, oh my goodness, I was in my element. I genuinely was in my element while I was building this yesterday. And it really did help me get into the spooky spirit. I've been, like, I say this every year. I feel like I say it more around Christmas time though, where I say all of a sudden it's Christmas and you almost haven't given yourself enough time to get into the Christmas spirit. And I do say the same sometimes with Halloween, even though I decorate my house on the inside. We've talked about this before, so I'm not going to bore you with the story as to why we don't decorate the outside of our house. But the inside of our house is always head to toe decorated for Halloween and Christmas, although my husband and I did come to the conclusion that we actually have more Halloween and autumnal decor than we do Christmas and festive decor, which I found hilarious. And I'm like, well, yeah, obviously, like, why would that not be the case? But then when you say it out loud, you're like, oh, yeah, I have more Halloween decorations than I do Christmas decorations. But anyway, I did contemplate putting some little skeletons out here, and then I was like, nah, I just don't like the way that looks. But something that I did find while I was sifting through debug, so you'll like quite a bit of this video, especially on the exterior, was me sifting through the catalogue to just see if there's anything that I would have possibly missed. I did contemplate putting a tarot card like reading thing out on the front lawn as well, and then I was like, no, I just don't, I think that's taking it too far. But I did find, I think it's from Life and Death. Can you see? It's like a little no ghosts sign, which I thought was hilarious. Why I've never seen that sign before in my life, I don't know. Then I found this banner from Life and Death as well, which I did almost use, and then I did decide not to use it. I just don't think it really fit with the vibe. Although, again, another item that I had no idea had even come with Life and Death. So that's the exterior of the houses done at the front. We do return at the end of the video to sort out the landscaping in the back gardens, but for now we are working on the floor plans of both of these houses. Both houses have 2 bedrooms and a bathroom on the upper floor, although you can see the layout is ever so slightly different because the houses themselves are different. And then on the ground floor we have, as you walk in, there's a living space, and then there's a kitchen dining space just at the back as well. I wanted to try and keep things relatively simple whilst, I don't know the best way to describe this. I didn't want to go overboard with overwhelming myself with these 2 humongous houses, and I wanted them to just be a really nice size. So I thought a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom home for each of the houses, it was just a nice balance. So we do start working on the house on the left first. Now this house on the left has a different colour scheme to the house on the right. I wanted them to be different in that respect. So the house on the left has a softer color scheme, a lighter wood palette, whereas the house on the right has a darker wood palette, more sort of rich colors as opposed to like the lighter and brighter ones that I decided to go for with this house. I wanted to try and get across that as much as these neighbors, you know, they feud and they know each other well, it's like it's friendly feud, you know, it's not nasty. And they probably go out to dinners and stuff, their kids probably play together, you know, is kind of what I was thinking. And anyone with a keen eye, just speaking about the kids playing together, if you saw 2 kids on the thumbnail playing hopscotch, my idea was that it was the child from each of the houses, like sort of meeting at the front in their Halloween costumes, just playing some hopscotch. So if you saw them, that was sort of the concept that I had in mind for these 2. Now, this particular family, there are 2 parents, there's a child, and then there is also an infant in this house. The house on the right, we have 2 parents, we have a child, but we also have like a brand new newborn baby. So I wouldn't go as far to say they're in competition with each other, you know, like, well, you're having a baby, so we're going to have a baby. Like, I don't think it's anything like that. I just think that it's a happy coincidence that each of the families have a similar dynamic. But of course, if you want to change up the dynamic, if you want to change anything to do with this house or any of these houses, sorry, I keep forgetting that I've got 2 houses on the go here, then please feel free. But yeah, the living room's coming together really nicely. I love the fact that the front door sort of opens up and you are just in the living room. I love the fact that the stairs are completely like integral part of the living room too. I've spoken about this many times on the channel. There's something super cozy about that to me. I don't know what it is. I've always loved it. I'm not so sure I would love it for myself in my own house. I mean, that's probably unfair to say because I've never actually had it or experienced it in real life. However, it's super cozy in The Sims, so I do really enjoy sort of adding the stairs in the living room. And then, of course, I did have this sort of quite blank space where all these windows are, so I did add a few kids decorations in here just so that your Sims could just have a really nice family time in here. There's plenty of things for each of the Sims to be doing, and I just thought it was really cute. I did do the same thing in the other house as well, which I thought was kind of fun. But yeah, we've obviously got the autumnal and Halloween decorations going on here. We've got quite a bit of orange going on as well, but I don't know whether these pillowcases perhaps just come out around autumn time or whether the family just happens to really like orange and green. I'm not entirely sure, but you can see it's quite subtle on the inside of this house. I think where the families really sort of go to town is on the exteriors of their houses. I don't think they necessarily are too bothered about the interiors. Let's put it that way. But yeah, that's the living room done, and then we do move on to the kitchen dining room. As you can see, it is a huge space. I think I could have definitely put a downstairs bathroom on this bottom floor if I had have planned it a little bit better. But I think for gameplay and things like that, I think these houses are kind of wonderful. They're not overly cluttered either. I don't know if anyone has picked up on that already. Not only are the spaces rather large themselves, but they're not overly cluttered either, which is something that's completely alien to me as a builder in The Sims 4. I tend to go quite overboard with my clutter, and I am a lot more comfortable filming and building in smaller spaces. But with these houses, I think that they were very deceptive. You know, from the outside, you'd look at them and be like, okay, yeah, there's 2 houses here. They seem like a decent size. Then you get on the inside and you're a bit like, okay, there's actually more room in here than I thought. So sorry, I just had to take a pause for a second there because I thought I was going to hiccup and then it didn't happen. And then I don't know what happened. Anyway. So there is a dining room table in here as well. There's a big kitchen island too. We've got microwave, we've got a rice cooker. I just tried to give you Sims a little bit of everything. We do have a food mixer here, but I can't remember if I removed that at some point. I'm not entirely sure. We quickly nip outside and do put a swing set out there as well because I wanted there to be some activities in the garden, even though there aren't a huge amount of activities because obviously the garden's pretty small. Oh, and I did give each of these families a pet. I did. I forgot to mention that. Every single time I talk about family dynamics, I always forget about the animals, which is heartbreaking to me because I have 2 dogs of my own who I very much consider part of my family, who I love so much. And if people forgot about them to include them in like my family dynamic, I'd be like, excuse me, what about Harley and Maverick? Here I am doing it in my own Sims build. Anyway, with the clutter in the kitchen, I think I found a nice balance between cluttered and lived in, but also gameplay friendly. You'll have to let me know if you agree or disagree with that, by the way. I think I found a good balance between it, but there might be someone here going, whoa, this is way too cluttered for me. There's other people that might be watching going, oh yeah, well I would have added more clutter. You're not going to please everybody, unfortunately, but for me, this is a little bit more toned down than my usual builds, which is not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing at all, especially when I knew I had to decorate 2 houses. Like, I really did wake up yesterday morning and decide I just chose violence. I was like, okay then, so I guess I'm going to build 2 houses on one lot, and these families are going to be in competition with one another for Halloween. And I was talking to my husband about it, and he was like, oh, that's a really good idea. And then I just kept talking about it, and you could see him like, Rachel, just go and build it. So I was a little bit scared to even start it, but I'm really glad I did. Oh yeah, I did replace the food mixer with this bowl of Halloween candy from Spooky Stuff. I think when your Sims go to grab some candy, there's a chance that a hand comes out and it scares them. It's so funny every time I see it. And I was like, oh, we've got to add the Halloween candy bowl to a Halloween house. Like, right? I put some shoesies near the door as well. I was like, oh, I just love shoes near doors. Not in my house in real life. No. No shoes anywhere in my house. But in the Sims builds, I love adding them to the back doors, the front door. It just adds, oh, it's so cute. I just love it so much. Final touches to the kitchen. And then we move onto the upper floor, I believe, after I've changed just a few of the swatches. Because I was like, oh, that's not working for me. Now, the first room that we work on is the main bedroom. Again, such a good size. I was so pleased that I decided to do just the 2 bedrooms. I could have very easily, I say very easily, I could have quite easily turned this into a 3-bedroom property, but I think the 2 bedrooms works a lot better. And the beauty is, with the size of the bedrooms, there'd be, like, there's no big deal if your Sims obviously wanted to, when this infant grows up, they can just share a room with their sibling. I don't think that's too big of a deal. And then obviously there's room for extensions at the back if you want to. There's a lot of room for some gameplay and storytelling with these houses. And I loved that so much about them. They really did have a lot of personality. And it made me feel extremely happy when I went to bed last night, having sort of built these and just had this storyline in mind. I felt very fulfilled is probably what I'm trying to say. I felt very fulfilled when I went to bed last night, knowing that this is what I'd achieved. But yeah, there's not really too much going on in here. Again, with the clutter, I just didn't want it to feel too overwhelming. And then we do quickly decorate the one and only bathroom, but the one and only bathroom is such a good size. I wasn't even mad about it. When I do family houses, my brain always tells me I need at least 2 bathrooms. And my brain's probably right. I think in terms of gameplay, 2 bathrooms, especially when you've got kids, when you've got multiple Sims living in the house, I think 2 bathrooms definitely come in handy. But I think equally when you've got just 1 bathroom and it's a really good size and your Sims have everything that they could possibly want and need in here, I think you can kind of overlook it, at least in my humble opinion. So this is quite colourful. I tried to stick with the more sort of fun, vibrant, pastel-y, pinky, yellowy colours that we'd seen throughout the rest of the house. And I tried to sort of blend it in with the bathroom too. And then the last room that we work on in this particular house is the kids' bedroom. Now, it took me a little while to not only figure out which bed I wanted to use, because that took a little while, but it also took me a while to figure out where I wanted to put the bed and which wallpaper I wanted to use for this room as well. Now, I do for a while contemplate this really beautiful soft pink with the soft yellow duvet cover on the bed. And then I was like, oh, I don't know. I'm not loving this. I think I started adding a few other pieces in and it wasn't doing anything for me. The rug wasn't doing anything for me. And then I think I added this new rug in and I thought, okay, maybe we can go a little bit more adventurous with the duvet cover. But if we're doing that and we're adding a ton of colour in terms of the accessories, the decorations, then perhaps we should switch the wallpaper out for the wallpaper that you've seen in the rest of the house. And I just think it looks a lot better. I do this a lot with my kids' bedrooms. If I decide I'm going to make them quite cluttered and colourful, I will often put in like quite a neutral wallpaper, because I just think then it's not too much on the eyes. At least that's what I think. If you preferred the pink, please feel free to change it back. There's a little part of me that wishes I had have done, but then when I was taking the screenshots at the end, I was like, no, I think I made the right decision. But again, make any changes that you see necessary. I think with this bedroom, because it was actually quite a decent size, it threw me off just a little bit when I got in here. And there's one thing that really stumps me with kids' bedrooms, and it's not only stumps me, it scares me a little bit with kids' bedrooms. Sometimes when I have a blank wall like that and it's completely flat, I never really know what to put on there. Do I add a bookcase? Do I add a wardrobe? Like, I try and split the wall up somehow, which is why I put the mirror there. So that was me trying to be clever. That was a clever, quote unquote, attempt at me trying to split the wall. I just think it looks a lot better, to be completely honest. So that's the first house completely done, and then we do move on to the second house. Now, it sounds really like alien to me saying all this out loud, because the last time I built 2 houses on one lot, I think was last year. I don't think I've done it this year. I remember when For Rent came out and it was such a big thing. Like, you've got multiple units, you can have multiple families living on one lot. I haven't really utilised that feature since last year, I don't think. Now, someone please, again, correct me if I'm wrong. Oh no, I did do. No, I have. For my 80s save file, which still hasn't been released because it's me. I actually built like multiple lot types on one lot, which I thought was quite fun. But when it came to like two separate houses, I haven't done it for a while. So it just sounds really silly when not silly. It sounds, for me, quite alien when I'm saying, oh yeah, the first house is done, now we move on to the second house. But as you can already tell, this house has a much darker colour scheme. So we went for darker woods in here, a lot more like neutral, richer colours as well. Which I really liked. And I did also add a little desk over here because I was thinking, well, there's the space for it, and I think it's quite realistic for a family to have like a little sort of office setup in their living room. I think now, especially when there's so many jobs that you can have where you can work from home, and people might not necessarily have a spare room, which this family doesn't. They have a 2-bedroom house, they've got 2 kids, and there isn't a spare room to have a desk. So I was like, well, they can have one in here. So I do end up adding one here. And I love the fact that I used like this cow print chair. Obsessed. Fun fact, been trying to convince my husband to add some cow print in our house. Not real, I'd want fake cow print, but and he's a bit skeptical about it, so I think I need to work on it just a little bit. But the problem is, once I introduce it, I'm not convinced I'll know where to stop. I think I'll just keep adding it and adding it and adding it, and then all of a sudden I've just got cow print everything, everywhere. And it'll be like, oh, really? Tacky. Like, you've got to find a really nice balance between having it and not having too much of it, where it's like too overwhelming or whatever. Like I said, tacky. My opinion. Maybe not the right word to use, but I think it's like with anything. If you overuse something, it can just look a little bit off. Living room's done, pretty much. Apart from the fact that we do add some like little activities here for the kid to sort of get involved in, and it took me far too long to figure out which curtains I actually wanted to use here. I was like, do I use these? I'm not sure if I like them. Should I use them in a lighter swatch? Should we keep them darker? Like, I was having this internal monologue in my head, and I was just like, Rachel, just calm down. Oh my goodness, it's curtains in a living room in The Sims. Like, it's really not that deep. But I was just like beating myself up about it because I was like, it just doesn't look right. I don't know. So again, there's more activities in here for the kids to get involved with, and there's really nice open space for some gameplay. So I think these houses would be fun to de-Halloweenify as well, and like festivify up, like Christmassify up. I think that would be so fun. Maybe we do that instead of building 2 completely different houses. But we know I'm going to build 2 completely different houses. So I don't know why I'm saying that. But yeah, I still think it'd be a fun challenge to sort of decorate these for Christmas as well. You'll have to let me know what you think in the comments down below about that, because maybe we could just do like a short little real-time video where we maybe make the 2 families that live here, and then it comes to Christmas time and we de-spookify and re-Christmasify. So that's the living room done. Anyway, I digress. Then we move on to the kitchen. It took me ages to find a rug that I wanted to use. I was convinced I was going to use this one, and then the more I looked at it, the more I was like, oh, I really like it, but I don't like it in this kitchen. I don't know what it was or why I was doing it, but yeah, looking back, I do like the rug. I do, even in this different swatch. It's really nice, but yeah, we do change it out for one from Dream Home Decorator. I think it just looks a little bit softer. And I also decided to add dishwashers in each of these houses, because I put one in this house and then realised that I hadn't put one in the first house. And I was like, well, that's not fair. Both families should have dishwashers. So I do pop over there and put a dishwasher in. So the things I think about when I'm building in The Sims, honestly, I don't know if it's just me or if anybody else, I overthink so many things just in life in general, but also when I'm building. Sometimes I have a really relaxing time and my brain just switches off. Most of the time though, my brain just goes a million miles an hour, and it's like, well, you should have done this, you should have done that, why are you not doing this and the other? Look, I feel like I'm sharing too much. Anyway, so we do settle on this rug from Dream Home Decorator. I think that works so much better than any of the other rugs that I had previously put down there. And then we do have a lovely dining table just in front of this lovely, like open window sort of situation. I think that looks beautiful. Like, can you imagine looking out onto your garden, watching your kids play while you're having breakfast? Just so nice. And then I was like, I don't like the way these windows look. I don't like the fact that I can't put what curtains I want on here. So I do end up removing those windows. It's on the side of the house, like nobody cares. So, and then I do add this like little trolley cart from the kitchen clutter kit. And then I keep remembering, oh my goodness, like we have that kit. I can use items from that kit in a kitchen. It's very, very handy, especially when, like, I think we've got quite a lot of kitchen clutter without the kit, but it's just handy if you're looking for something specific, you know. And I think that kit did come with some really nice items too. And again, as I was saying, mentioning in the other video, both families do have a pet. Obviously, you can decide if they want, or if they have, a cat or a dog. I didn't add a litter box to any of the houses, so in my head, I think they both have dogs. But obviously, because the bathrooms are so big, you could definitely add a litter box to one of the bathrooms, or you could just put the litter box outside if you were sort of head set on one of the families having a cat. So again, nice big bathroom. It's a great shape. It's a great size, and I think it's wonderful. And then I realised that I hadn't added a toilet roll holder to any of the bathrooms, like the bathroom in the other house or this one. And I was like, that's quite unusual of me. I don't usually forget that. And then we work on the main bedroom here. This bedroom did not take me long to put together at all. It's smaller than the bedroom in the other house, and I did decide to give the child sim the slightly bigger room, but that's just because I decided it off camera though that this family were going to have a newborn, because I'd added the baby mat on the ground floor, and then I'd realised that I hadn't actually given them an infant. But then I started thinking, well, maybe this family sometimes looks after their neighbour's baby, like just sometimes. So maybe that's why they've got a baby mat. And then off camera, I was like, no, these two are going to have a newborn as well. So that kind of tied into what I was going to say, which was I did give the bigger bedroom to the child. Because obviously when this second child grows up, they are going to have to share a room, unless, of course, you as the player do decide to renovate the house, extend it, expand it a little bit. And I'm also sorry, I did have to stop for just a moment there because my voice was going really hoarse. I'm pretty sure I can feel a cold coming on. And you know that feeling that you get when your head's feeling a bit stuffy, your nose is feeling a little bit blocked, and your throat's feeling a bit swollen? That's where I'm at the moment. So if I manage to avoid it, great. It's my birthday tomorrow, so I really hope I don't have a cold or don't get one, or at least if I do, can it just wait till next week when I'm back at work? Like, that would be great. Anyway, so now we move on to the last room in this house, which is the kids' bedroom. Really great size, but again, there was a reason for that. It was obviously because when their sibling grows up, they are going to have to move in here. So, and I also wanted to add a few activities for this kid to sort of enjoy in their bedroom too. Again, with the curtains here, I was struggling. I really struggled with which curtains I wanted to use here, but I do settle on these ones from Parenthood. These are my go-to when I don't really know which curtains I want to add. And they're great as well because you can layer them, because they're obviously quite sheer, quite see-through just by default. But if you layer them, they look a little bit thicker. So I put like 2 sets on each of the windows, which I thought looked quite nice. We've got like a fake wash basket in here because I didn't give this family a washer and dryer. I was going to add a utility room to this house, and again, I just didn't. Obviously, you could definitely add a washing machine and a dryer to the kitchen if you wanted to. There's definitely space for that. I just decided not to. And looking back, actually, I could have done that instead of adding that little the cart from the kitchen clutter kit. I wish I'd have done that now, but it's okay. A few clutter pieces on top of here, like some toys. There's a lava lamp. Again, there's plenty of posters in this room, plenty of toys, a lot of character. I love decorating kids' bedrooms, genuinely. I've been considering uploading more YouTube shorts recently, and specifically focusing on decorating kids' bedrooms, because I just have the best time decorating kids' bedrooms when it comes to it in The Sims. It's so much fun. And this is probably where my brain switches off just a little bit more, because you can have a consistent theme and a consistent colour scheme too, but you don't necessarily have to stick to it too rigidly for a kid's bedroom to work. Or at least that's what I think anyway. I think this kid is into gaming, into dinosaurs, into aliens and space, and learning about rocket ships. And I think this child does have a few different interests. Like, you'll notice they've got some dragon and dinosaur sort of toys laying around too, and they're a little bit messy. I think they're relatively young. I don't think they're anywhere near sort of teenage. I think they've probably just become a child, or they're a very young child anyway. it's sort of what I was thinking. But we just put like a little baseball. Is that a baseball? That's a baseball bat, right? Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's a baseball bat. And then I was like, what else can I add here? So I did add this little item from the Adventure Awaits pack. I think the kids can collect bugs and put them in there. So I did add that to the room as well. And then we very quickly go back to each of the houses' back gardens and just add a bench out here. There's a swing set, there's some planter boxes, and then also some seating areas for your Sims to just come and relax. I did remember to put outside bins in these builds. I think I need some credit for that, because more often than not, I completely forget. And I always feel really bad that I always forget about the outside bins, because I think that you have to have them in a Sims build. But anyway, you'll be pleased to know that we are now at the end of the video. So if you would like to download these houses, they are available right now from the gallery. My origin ID is RachelPedd. Tray files, as always, are linked down in the description box just below. You can get them from SimFileShare. But thank you so much, everyone, for joining me here today. I hope you had a fantastic Halloween, and I will see you all again very, very soon. Bye!